Hey there, Hamish here. It's the day after we recorded, and I'm reviewing the footage to edit it and get it out for you guys. But I noticed that there's a pretty terrible glitchy noise on my audio. We're working with the podcast software to find a solution. I've done a bunch of troubleshooting already, and I haven't found anything with the hardware. If you're technically inclined and know what it sounds like, let us know. But otherwise, we had a lot of fun recording this podcast, and hopefully you have a bunch of fun listening to it as well, despite the audio. The next few podcasts we're very much hoping are going to be sorted out. So enjoy.
Hostage negotiations and real estate deals aren't as different as you'd think. Both are about life-altering stakes. In a hostage crisis, it's freedom on the line. In real estate, it's a family's future. The same rule applies. Hear what they're not saying, and you'll find the path to yes. And that is Chris Voss, former FBI hostage negotiator, author, and negotiation expert. He spent 24 years with the FBI and led the kidnapping negotiations and has handled over 150 cases worldwide. And with that, welcome to the House Einstein podcast.
Welcome. It's what they're not saying that finds the path to yes. We'll explore that in the closing table.
That's our core topic today, is what Hamish is trying to say, right?
Mm-hmm. And just more what they're not saying. We have a pretty direct application to that.
We do. We were recently in a hostage negotiation, so to speak.
Some sort of negotiation.
Well, in this podcast, if you're new to this podcast, I'll remind you of our mission, and that is to help you make a smarter real estate decision. However, for purposes of your personal investment decisions, your real estate decisions, your life decisions, please treat this podcast as entertainment. If you are a client of our brokerage, the House Einstein brokerage, based in Boulder, Colorado, founded in Boulder, Colorado as well, then you should just pick up the phone and call your House Einstein agent when it comes to making a decision about real estate. And we are more than happy to serve you. You can find us at houseeinstein.com. And I am the founder of the House Einstein brokerage. I've been in the real estate game for over 20 years, and prior to that, dabbled around in the investment world as well. And Hamish is our right-hand human at the brokerage. He is also supporting this podcast, doing all sorts of things behind the scenes. Am I missing anything, Hamish? How would you like to be bio?
Oh, I'm doing the math right now of how many days I've been with the team. So I think we're rounding out 3 years and 47 days with the team. And yeah, I'm a secondhand man has never had the ring I've enjoyed, but functionally, yeah, I'm here at the brokerage, really ready to help out and tackle anything that comes up. Yeah.
I didn't say second hand. I said right hand.
Right
person.
hand. That's the one. Right hand.
You don't like that. You don't like that term. Okay.
I don't know. I never have, but it's true. I won't say no. But yeah, that's me. That's my sweet and short little intro. Help the pod and help the brokerage move smoothly.
Why are you counting the days like it's a prison sentence?
It's really fun, and it's also like one of the dates that I've been able to remember for the longest time. So it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, I remember it better than some people's birthdays.
Your start date. All right. Well,
yeah, I know.
We're glad to have you, but
glad to be here.
Hopefully, at some point, you'll stop counting days and you can start counting years with the brokerage. And by the way, we see so many deals at House Einstein and Hamish is involved in so many deals as he's licensed, but he is not a commission real estate agent, but he helps the brokerage manage all of our deals and is part of so many negotiations. So he sees more deals in a year than the vast majority of agents see in 5 years. So even though you've been with the brokerage only a little over 3 years, I would say that's more like 15 years of experience at this point, given how much you see. So All right, let's go through our topics today. Our core topic for the closing table is all about negotiation and what appears to be in some market segments a renewal of bidding war type activity. In fact, we just did an analysis for a client, and in their given price range and with the property requirements that they have currently, and this is the end of March, about 50% of the available inventory is under contract. Most economists say that 20% represents a balanced market, 20% of available inventory, or roughly 5 to 6 months of available inventory.
Supply.
20, right, 5 to 6 months of supply is considered a balanced market between buyers and sellers. Sorry, thanks for correcting me, Hamish. So they're not in a market segment where it's a buyer's market. It's very much a seller's market for what they're looking for, versus at the high end of the market, as we've done our analysis repeatedly, we've said, let's just say 3 million and up. Only a small percentage of inventory is under contract. Completely different market dynamics. And if you don't know the landscape of what you're competing into, it's very hard to know how aggressive you might need to be. And we recently were just in this negotiation that was quite heated and involved, and there's some lessons from it. So that is our core topic. And then we will move to other segments of the podcast that we usually involve, and that is our brief segment on shameless self-promotion, where we talk a little bit about our buyers and sellers and what they're doing, what they're looking for. In this case, we're going to focus on several upcoming listings that we think are worth hearing about. We have just 3 properties in our Sales of the Week segment. These are lessons from Sales of the Week that highlight certain price points and property types and market conditions for those price points and market type price points and locations. I'm tongue-tied today.
You're welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. We missed last week. I should add that, but that'll be part of our Carveout. At least my Carveout will be what was I doing last week? What happened to the pod? And then our last segment before the Carveout is where we cover some recent news stories that are affecting local real estate, including a pretty big one for Boulder County that has been at least a decade in the making. We will be talking about the Storage Tech Campus. And Hamish, you're going to be talking about the Rocky Mountain Greenway.
Yep. Yeah, a little update to that for the constant listener, the one that tunes in for every episode. Ryan, that one's for you.
Oh, we have more than just Ryan. He just he's actively commenting, and that's what we deeply appreciate. So Ryan, thank you for commenting. We're talking to you directly on the pod. Okay.
Oh, you know what's missing?
What's missing?
Market conditions.
We're not going to do market conditions. We're going to cover this we're at the end of the month. Okay, well, maybe we should do a little tidbit of market conditions. I think we should wait till next week. The reason is that I'd like to have a better sense of the full quarter. And let's see if we have the pod. Point. Typically, we're recording these podcasts, by the way, on a Wednesday for publication on Friday. So even next week, we will not have a full quarter because it'll be April 2nd. It'll be the following week, week 15. 9th. So the podcast that will issue on April 11th will be market conditions.
The week 15, we are rescheduling or changing up our... Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Well, maybe I'll have to be the old school and I'll just publish it on the blog, because I really feel like you need the full quarter of data to talk about. Talking about just the month of January and February is not relevant at the end of March. We now have enough activity in March to talk about it. And again, if you are thinking about buying or selling real estate, a quarterly analysis at the high level for even at the city level is not detailed enough for you to be actionable. Sorry, let me say it the other way. That's not action. It's not information that's actionable until you are down to the granular level. Your price range, your location, the bedrooms and baths, literally the street level, the side of the street can affect market conditions. And For another client, Hamish, you weren't on this call, and we'll talk about this in the shameless self-promotion segment. There's no competition for what she's about to list.
Yeah.
And it also is so. And she asked me what I meant. Like I said it's rare. Your house. She's like, what do you mean it's rare? And I said, there's nothing like it. Like there's nothing like it when you say west side of town, up against the open space, and you say you want at least 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, and you would like an association to handle some of the exterior maintenance, and you would like a 2-car garage. There's nothing like it. There's like it's in a class by itself. So we'll touch on that again in our shameless self-promotion segment.
But the market conditions, while not being actionable, they're great to sit down with your in-laws and talk about real estate with.
Oh, for sure. It's great at the bar. It's great at the dinner table. It's fun conversations. But when it comes time to actionable information, pick up the phone, call your agent, have them do the analysis. And if your agent is incapable of doing it, frankly, they should do it live on a video call with you so you can see what they're doing. If they're incapable of doing that, you've frankly chosen a bad agent. They should be able to, in 15 minutes, walk you through market conditions that are specific to your unique real estate situation, period. And if they can't do that, then you need to find a better agent.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Good point. That'll be for the socials, that little segment. I should have said it with a smile, but I said it a bit taciturn, perhaps. Okay, so that is...
look grumpy. Anyway.
This podcast is sponsored by House Einstein. We serve buyers and sellers in Colorado, focusing on Boulder, Denver, and several mountain resort towns, including Breckenridge and Winter Park. Our mission is simple: help you make a smarter real estate decision. You can learn more at houseeinstein.com or our YouTube channel, where you'll find videos on neighborhoods, specific listings, and much, much more. So we've reviewed our topics of the day, and it's time to jump into the closing table.
Yeah.
Or are we jumping into a table? No, we're welcoming you to the table.
Sitting down at the table. Yeah.
It's time to sit down at the closing table.
I've got a little quote here to kind of bring it in. They said we were close, but really we were just there to close the deal they already wanted. That's not directly attributed to anything. I tried to look for a source, but apparently it's like, as the saying goes in real estate, that type of general saying than anything else. Yeah.
Well, it's not uncommon that the first offer gets the most attention, and subsequent offers, usually just the second, but sometimes there's more than 2, are then utilized to improve the first offer. So back in the day, a few years ago, when it was quite common to get not just 2 offers, but 3 or 4 or 5 offers, the best practice that we started doing was take the best offer of the 5 and use the other offers to improve the best offer. And maybe you end up with 2 really close offers, but ultimately there'll be one that is the favorite. And it's not just based on price, it's the probability of closing. And agents have reputations. Some have a reputation for being very polite and professional, and some agents, well, not so much. And I really wish that buyers and sellers could see visibly the reputation that their chosen agent has in the business community, because some of them are known to not be helpful in their negotiation style. And some of them are tough negotiators.
Yeah, pretty difficult.
I want to make it clear, there's some great negotiators that are tough, and there's some people that make deals difficult for no particular reason whatsoever. And in a small city like Boulder, Denver is a different story. Denver, there's a much broader community of agents, but in a smaller community like Boulder, the top agents all know each other and are used to doing deals with each other over and over and over again. And knowing their styles is really important for advising a buyer or seller.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to do a common perceptions and misperceptions of real estate agents in Boulder, though. As much fun as that would be.
Maybe we should. I mean, it's like a caricature of
That'd be
personalities.
A private video, you pay a little extra to get it.
Maybe.
Keep that internal only. Yeah.
Find that. You have to pay for that video on our OnlyFans.
Yeah. Only houses.
Only houses. Only agent chat. So, briefly, what occurred this past weekend was we were the second offer to the table on a hot listing. And I know it's hard to believe that there are bidding wars, but in certain price ranges and locations and property types, this property was pretty buttoned up. I would say it was 90% turnkey.
If not more. Yeah,
it was ready to go. Also a property type that was very attractive to a wide range of buyers. A decent ranch style homes are very popular for a variety of reasons, but the wave of boomers coming into the market that may have mobility issues, the improvability of a basic ranch, all of that is why ranches are popular choices. Well, we were the second offer, and in the midst of this negotiation, the line went dead. Like, we were negotiating a counter, and next thing we knew, the agent was having trouble reaching their client, and it went dead.
This is late evening, right? Everybody's kind of bated breath.
It's 8
got
p.m.
a foot in the door. Yeah.
It's 8 p.m. and it's like 8:30 rolls around, still nothing. And then finally I hear back from the other side that they went under contract with the first buyer. And we were negotiating, I thought we were negotiating a counter, but it turned out to maybe not be as attractive as the first offer. Or maybe the two offers were so similar, they went with the buyer they thought wanted it more. And that's a really important factor when it comes to real estate deals. The buyer that wants it more, when there are two similar offers, is the buyer that wins it, because the seller is afraid the buyer that is sort of lukewarm about it, well, they're going to back out, or they're going to find something wrong on inspection and try to
pedal back some money, claw back.
Claw back, yeah. I was almost using the word extort the seller, because the leverage has changed. Once you're under contract, the leverage switches to the buy side, and the seller's risk is that you terminate the deal and go back on market. One of the best practices that we employ is to maximize the amount of time for when the status has to change on the MLS. And that is 3 business days.
Oh, I think that should be enough said, honestly, as far as like giving away our secrets.
You don't want me to reveal? I don't think this is a secret. It's just common sense.
No. Yeah.
Like, because you know that buyers sometimes change their mind. They get cold feet the next morning. They look in the mirror and they go, "My God, I can't believe I'm spending this," or whatever. Maybe they had an argument with their partner and they don't feel good about the house anymore. Or one person of the two, if it's a couple, wanted the home more than the other, and now they're having that come to reality conversation by the hard light of dawn. They're hungover and they're like, "My God, I don't think I want this house." There's that. I've heard it said it's the Russian approach to big decisions. Like, you should make the decision both when you're drunk and when you're sober. Like, you should look at it in both situations, and if you still want it in both situations, you probably still want it. But it's not uncommon that buyers change their minds, so keeping that status change for 3 full business days is one way to prevent, or at least reduce the chances of a seller getting burned by a buyer that suddenly changed their mind. Because let's face it, in the Colorado contract, there's a lot of exits, and
for the buyer,
that's right.
Yeah, it's quite the kind of power dynamic shift after you get under contract, and there are a few things, right? Little techniques. The 3 business day deal is probably the biggest one, and we've seen it save some sellers bacon pretty recently, which is good. You know, there is that kind of light-footed feeling, at least when I first offered on the house that I'm currently in. It was, you second-guess yourself, or maybe a second opinion comes in, and you're like, well, maybe not. But, yeah.
Should you get your offer in first? The answer is it's probably a good idea, because the first offer gets the most attention. It's a good practice, and one of the reasons we drop everything to go see a hot listing, and I say hot meaning highly desirable, is because it buys our buyer more time to think about it. The last thing you want to do is see the house on a Sunday afternoon and find out that offers are due in 2 hours. It's possible, but you're now under incredible pressure. to get that offer right. And some agents are very communicative in terms of setting a playing field, and some agents are very poor at this. And it's sort of sad, and this is another thing that we really wish that our industry taught our counterparties, our colleagues, and that is you can't negotiate effectively with more than a handful of parties at the same time. Mm-hmm. So during the peak of the bidding wars, when we used to hear people, this is a few years ago, we used to hear people bragging that their agent got 17 offers, got 20 offers. And all I could think is that is the most incompetent way to run a competitive offer scenario, is have 20 offers, each of which are 18 pages long to sift through, and not have the ability to work with multiple buyers to improve the offer price, because it's just too many. You can't negotiate with that many people. Typically 2 or 3, and in my opinion, maximum 5 is what you should be looking for. And if offers aren't competitive, you should just tell people to not submit. Like, where are you planning to offer? And if their number is way below all the rest, you could say that's just not even going to be close. So if you really want the house, you got to toughen up your offer, tighten up your offer, toughen up your buyer. Or don't waste your time.
Got to change something. Yeah, save the effort.
As a professional courtesy to you, dear buyer's agent, don't submit unless you're above whatever number. And then you might be in the running. But so there's all sorts of ways. We have a 2-page strategy negotiation bullet list for our clients to think about after we have an in-person conversation around bidding wars. It's sort of funny because the market is cooler. It has cooled dramatically due to higher rates, but it's also a surprise to see bidding wars coming back in, and I think it might foretell a more active market this summer, at least in the second quarter, than we originally anticipated. So stay tuned on that front. Going
off of, I think you said a little bit earlier too, when you are, in our case, right, there were only 2 offers, ours and the initial offer that came in. And it's, I don't want to direct quote, and I think my memory is foggy enough that I won't, but it was, it's a signable offer is the only detail we got, I think. So we're trying to craft this competitive other offer and submit it, but a signable offer, is the seller signable when it's 20K under? Of course it's signable if it's over. It's trying to get a read, too, between the lines, right?
Well, that's a great point, Hamish. And this is what I tell our clients when we're on the buy side. The first step to negotiation is for me to call the listing agent and have a conversation. And in that conversation, there almost always is enough information for us to craft an offer strategy. Some agents will tell you very little, and that's unfortunate. But some agents will actually help frame up the competitive landscape of other offers coming in. So that it's what's not said, as Chris Voss says. Yeah. You have to be careful what questions you ask. Back. Yeah. We're also this is going to sound a little strange, but with a very foreign sounding name, I also want people to understand that we communicate. That you will not, my foreign sounding name will not be a barrier to our communication, and that I also do things with transparency, integrity. I do everything I can to foster trust. I don't play games, and we have pretty good client management, meaning that most of the deals we put under contract close. I would say 95% of the deals that we are successful at negotiating under contract, unless there's an irresolvable inspection issue that's a real inspection issue, our buyers usually close, because we don't write offers on homes that they're not serious about, and we guide them through what to expect as a norm through the inspection process. And all of that is what I also want to communicate to the other side when I pick up the phone and say, hey, what's the ideal closing date? Mm-hmm. Does your client need a post-closing occupancy to stay in the home? I just had that phone call with an agent today on an offer that we're getting ready to write. And the answer was yes. It's a scenario where this buyer needs some time to find, a rental. This seller needs some time to find. Thank you. This seller needs some time to find a rental after they close. So a short post-closing occupancy period, given that they have children and a dog, which I thought it was cute. He threw in the dog. I don't think the dog
counts as a family member.
That's fine. Well, so it humanizes the seller, and it's important to humanize the buyers too. So that's the other thing we try to do in that initial phone call is talk about how great our buyers are, how long they've been looking, how well qualified they are, that we've talked about this location and some of the pros and cons of it. So that also helps the seller feel like it's not just an anonymous name, an anonymous buyer. They've got names, but they don't know who these people are. And real estate transactions are very much an emotional process. It's not like any other asset that I personally have negotiated on. I mean, I suppose motorcycles might be the closest thing for me because I once did sell a bike to somebody who was just being disrespectful. He was like 45 minutes late, hadn't called. And I was like, I don't need to sell this bike to you. This is like, I'm emotionally attached to this bike. I don't even want to sell it. Yeah. And you're 45 minutes late. I'm super busy. Forget it. And he was very angry because apparently he was like within 20 minutes of the house at that point. But had driven a long way from Vail, and I made him turn around and told him to shove it. And I've had sellers do the same thing when the buyer was disrespectful. They ran into the buyer during the showing, and the buyer was arrogant. And they did submit an offer, and my seller told them no, they're not even going to counter it. And then he said, you don't need to mute this, Hamish. This is an adult podcast.
All good.
He said to me, I'm not going to counter. And you know what that's going to feel like to them? That's going to feel like a fuck you. And that's exactly what I'm saying. And I was like, okay, got it. I'm trying to help you sell the house. I don't think that's the right answer, but obviously if that's what you want to do, I will execute what you want. But they could be a real buyer, and you don't have to like the buyer. But it didn't matter at that point. Sure, he sent the FU message to the buyer, and they got the message and went away. So
on the opposite of the FU message, love letters, right? Some, especially during the bidding war. I don't want to call it season, but the bidding war peak a couple of years back, a lot of agents were in their listings saying no love letters, please. And nowadays it's kind of 50-50 on whether or not you want a love letter, but that initial phone call, you're kind of communicating the love, the woo-woo, as you gently pry for other offer details and everything there too. I think it's another way to say that you're expressing the buyers are serious and they want the home, and etc.
So the reason we were advised to not present love letters as listing agents was because of the increased liability of a fair housing lawsuit, right? So if you sold the house to somebody of your same ethnicity, religion, and there's somebody that is of a protected class that didn't get the house, and there was a love letter involved, well, it sort of looks discriminatory. So you have to be careful with love letters. However, if you're on the buy side and it doesn't say no love letters, don't ask. Just write the love letter and submit it. Don't ask whether it's okay to submit one. It's the listing agent's problem whether or not they present the love letter. And if I'm on the listing side and I get two offers and they're very similar, one has a love letter and one doesn't, guess who's getting the house?
Letter, for sure.
The people that talked about why this home works for them, how much they love it, all the personal detail, like they notice certain things about the home. You have to be careful.
They personified themselves, right? They're no longer a buyer. They're Sally and Jason from wherever.
Yeah, I love the hot pink bedroom for your daughter or whatever thing.
Don't even have to paint it.
Right, you don't even need to paint it. I love the built-ins. I love that basement bar, even though it's a total cliche and looks horrible. I love that basement bar. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, you have to be careful and not be over the top. But it's not a bad idea. And if my clients don't want to write it and there's time, I may even put it into a cover note with the highlights of the offer. Here's the strength of our offer. It's over list, well qualified, 30% down, closing fast. It's a laundry list.
Bullets.
So that it even saves that listing agent the time to go through the offer to see what the key terms are. So all of that plays into how you can potentially win a bidding war. But in this particular situation, our offer was used to improve the second offer. We did get used. Our client did want the home and actually was holding back a little bit on how high they were willing to go, but there really wasn't even time to present it. I thought we had negotiated a really good number and was waiting to hear, okay, you can have it for slightly more, and then we would have been under contract. And instead, we went to bed finding out that, no, we lost it. So there are a lot of levers you can pull besides price. The key principle is it's the highest offer that has the highest probability of closing. It's this X and Y diagram that should win, point. But it's the agent's problem to present that. And it's not just the legal contract that governs that. There's a lot of soft skill in negotiations that can present a buyer in better or worse light. And you have to be really careful. And agents in particular with giant egos,
ego creep, I want to call it.
You know who you are. Some of you need to work on like your soft skills on treating your colleagues respectfully. It's really, I don't know what else to say about that other than it's sort of astounding. Having worked on Wall Street, having worked in the investment community, and seeing such a high standard for conduct, which is sort of shocking, and then seeing such variability in professionalism in the real estate world, it's quite. If you've worked in any other professional setting, and then you get into real estate, you will be absolutely shocked at the spectrum of professionalism. And some high-performing agents, meaning that they do a lot of business, are well-known, also surprisingly don't have great bedside manner. And it's like, at bedside manner in the medical sense, not in any other sense. It's sort of surprising how their marketing might be ahead of their actual delivery of services.
Right. I had something. Another kind of inescapable factor, and I don't think it was the case in this one, but some agents have their favorites. So if they get an offer from their buddy or something, even if they try to be fair, they may present it to their client more favorably. Just kind of implicit. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. This
I'm
is
trying
why
to give some benefit of the doubt, but yeah, for sure.
I mean, I was a little more. I'll admit, when I first got in this business, having worked in the investment community, I was a little more aggressive than I should have been. Professional, but aggressive. And then I learned that the hard way that aggressiveness doesn't work well for residential real estate here in Colorado. Instead, I'm all warm, syrupy, sweetness, kissy kissy. I love you to death with my colleagues, even as I'm negotiating aggressively, but the tone is more Velvet Hammer, right? Velvet, like it's
Velvet
very
Thunder.
it's very softly delivered. It's kind. I'm patient. I warm people up. I also ask how we can get past certain obstacles and work on this together. All of which is signaling that, oh, by the way, when we get to the inspection, we're going to solve problems together. All of that's so important.
It's to finish the deal. It's not to ream the other side, right?
Well, I mean, some people really want to ream the other side, but if you can...
I'm not saying this for us.
If you can beat up the other side, but do it gently and do it in a way that's professional, that's how to do it. Getting the right house is really the biggest win. Making sure that is the right home for you. And at that point, we've accomplished 80% of it, right? And the last 20% is, well, can you get the home at a reasonable price, right? Is it the right house? Are you able to get it under contract at a price that's fair? And then if there are serious inspection issues, can they be resolved in a way that is fair? You can't sell a house with a bad sewer line. That just doesn't work. You can sell a house with an old furnace, but it probably should be serviced, right? Like when you wrote the offer, you weren't expecting a furnace that was at the end of its life. So maybe
unless
there's
you saw it and noted it. There's the overlap with visible and obvious, right?
Right. The visible and obvious principle is very important for inspection negotiations. Because otherwise it feels completely unfair. If you send a laundry list of items to the other side that you think are objections, the driveway had cracks in it, the paint's fading, okay, but all of these were visible and obvious when you wrote, I don't like the color of the carpet, like that sort of stuff gets people really angry. And then they don't want to give you anything. They think you're disingenuous, they have all sorts of nasty swear words for you, and you get very little, if anything. I've had that happen earlier in my career where I just did what my client wanted without pushback. Now I give them some advice and some counsel. We still do what they want, but submitting a laundry list of inspection items is a great way to get nothing.
I think it's been long enough since this deal. We had a client who wanted to object to an older electrical panel, and the line to toe there was upgrade versus a repair. Now, the flag was that the electrical panel was older and therefore might not be 100% reliable. But at least to me, I'd only ever really seen upgrades from older panels. And they ended up replacing all of the breakers within the panels and then verifying. And there were, within that test, verified bad breakers too, which was, it was just really neat to see that go through. I'm thinking like an upgrade versus objection. Because buyers come in thinking like, oh, I'm going to object, and they'll upgrade it.
Right. No, that's very valid. And that conversation is another one we often have. Is this an upgrade or is this a repair? And for that particular deal, that panel did surprise me. I thought the older breakers would be working just fine. And it turned out, no, that the inspector was right. These breakers were not working just fine. So I guess old panels have
check your breakers.
Breakers, yeah. I didn't know you could even test breakers that way, but yeah, they replaced a bunch of them, if not all of the breakers in that panel.
I think so, yeah. Relabeled it, like made it look new. You know?
Yeah, so legit. All right, so let's wrap this up, Hamish, with a little subreddit story time.
Sweet. I might write down the time code. I don't think this is a separate chapter, but I'm going to write it down. Bring it in on us.
Time for our subreddit story time. And in Reddit, there's a real estate and also realtor subreddits, which sometimes are full of very interesting questions and situations. And of course, the part that people often forget is that real estate is regulated at the state level. So sometimes what applies to Texas doesn't apply to Colorado. Colorado has very good governance, very good contracts. Some states, you literally are writing a one-page, cover letter as an offer, and then handing everything to attorneys to do. That's what Massachusetts used to be. It probably still is. I don't practice in Massachusetts anymore. That was a long time ago. But I was shocked at the difference between the contracts in Massachusetts and in Colorado when I first got into this a long time ago. And so this particular subreddit question was called Proof of Higher Offer, Advice Question. I'm not a realtor and would appreciate knowing if seller is obligated to show proof of higher offer, or is this just poker? For context, I made an offer of $20,000 over asking. I also have had a brand new agent, whereas the listing agent is a seasoned veteran. I feel my agent was intimidated/bullied when listing agent told my agent there was another offer, and all I had to do was go over another 30. The emotions were high. I was doing this transaction while out of state. I, quote, caved and increased my offer by the $30,000 and got the house. Now I'm wondering if my agent just got intimidated. I asked her if she got proof of higher offer, and she said no, and that isn't customary.
Thoughts, questions, comments? Osman, one of your most viewed blog posts, houseeinstein.com, is the other offer fake?
It might be. The answer is it might be. And you could, at that moment, ask in your counter that you will sign the counter provided seller shall disclose complete competing offer. You can redact the buyer, the buyer's name. Go ahead, black it out. Yeah. Redact the buyer's name. Redact the realtor's name. That's the other offer that's triggering this. So we would do this in escalation clauses that we would include. We'll go over the next best offer by $1,500, $5,000, whatever the number is. The higher up it goes in price, the bigger that escalation step should be. Provided seller shall disclose complete competing offer. Because sometimes what happens is it turns out that the other offer has all sorts of nonsense in it. And the first time I saw this, I wrote that clause in, and they sent us the other offer as proof. It was written by a first-year agent because they didn't redact. And I looked the agent up, and the agent was on their LinkedIn. They were a bartender at the Med, and there was no mention of what real estate brokers they were in. Their licensing, which you can look up how long they've been licensed, was a year, and the offer was 100% financing, zero down in the pricing table. And I showed it to my clients, and I said, this isn't really a competing offer. This is a joke. Like, this offer is written in crayon by a fifth grader, and I would decline to escalate. Your offer is plenty high enough as it stands now. And if they decide to say, no, we're going to go with this other offer, then good, because I doubt this other offer is actually going to get to the closing table, and they know it, and we know it. And so even though we said we had the escalation clause, we declined to escalate because this offer was not...
left the discretion up to you guys.
Yeah, I think we had language in there that says something like, of a similar nature, must present complete competing offer of similar terms, right? So we include some language there that gives us an out. Because the offer written in crayon with 0% down is still a competing offer, but it needs to be of similar terms. So you have to be careful with the verbiage you use in that clause. But we got the house. The seller said, hey, you're right. Listing agent said, we'll go with your offer because it was a good try. Yeah, it was way better, even though it was a lower price. So the other side is not obligated to show you the offers, but you can make it an obligation in a counter. You can talk, so you don't just throw that out there, right? You warm them up with this. Say, look, and this is where the verbal negotiation is so important between agents. If you get that phone call back from the listing agent that says, I've got a competing offer, it's $20,000 over your offer, but we like your offer more. We would like to go with you guys if you can match this price. And I'm going to say, are the other terms similar? And they're going to say, well, yes or no. Okay, great. Well, I think we can do that. I'll write up a counter. Are you willing to share that other offer so my client knows they're not competing against thin air? Like, there actually is another offer. And some agents say, I can't do that. It's confidential. There's nothing in the Colorado contract to buy and sell. The standard contract to buy and sell, the word confidential is not mentioned. Caveat, the last time I looked was like 2020. There have been updates. I don't think that word's in there. Otherwise, they would have covered it in the last commission update. You can look, Hamish, while I'm talking to see if I'm wrong.
I was going to say, I'm looking at a 23 contract right now, but I'll go to
there is in the listing agreement, there is some language around whether other offers shall be disclosed or not. But the contract to buy and sell is not, there's no word confidential in it. As a practice, agents don't just throw these around and post them on the internet. So the listing agent can discuss that with their client and say, hey, is it okay if I share this other offer? We want to go with Osman's buyer. It's stronger. They've agreed to match, provided we share the other offer. The only thing on this other offer is it's not cash, it's 25% down. But that should have been discussed with me on the phone to say, look, it's similar except for the fact it's not 100% cash, it's a finance deal. And at that point, my answer would be, well, it's a finance deal. That's not the same as our buyer with cash. How about we negotiate something in between, right? We'll still give you the fast closing. We're not going to go higher than this other offer because a cash deal is worth more than a finance deal. There's a relationship between
concreteness to it. Yeah.
There's a relationship between risk and reward, risk and the number, the finance, the actual purchase price, and you have to adjust the terms of your offer by the risk it presents to the other side. So good agents can handle that conversation. And if they're not good agents, they're like, just submit your highest and best, and that's all you're ever going to hear from me. We're going to sign one of the highest and best. That's not a good... This is why if you're interviewing agents, ask how they handle multiple offers. And if you're above $3 million in price, you're probably not getting multiple offers. But if you're in a competitive price point, you might. And you should have this conversation about how are you going to handle multiple offers before they show up. And also before you choose an agent. You should have this conversation because if they aren't talking about having conversations with counterparties and using offers to leverage against each other to improve the final winning offer, then you're probably choosing the wrong agent.
Oz, I've got 3 things. First one, just checked the most recent contract we've written up, and the only word close confidentially comes up, but only in the mediation section. And then the offer that we used, the escalation for the house that I'm in right now, you almost used verbatim, just talking about it, was... let's see, a competing offer of similar terms. And then you've got, present complete competing offer. So that was cool. that side, they didn't redact it at all, so I got to look up who I was competing against, and that was a lot of fun. But besides the point, another ethical thing, I think it's ethically dark, and maybe I'm not a huge fan of it, but there's no reason why, say somebody schedules a showing on your listing, you don't just reach out to the agent and be like, yeah, we've got an offer. Just like to get them to hurry up and submit.
That's a great point. It's a great point. And so that's a different sort of fake out. Mm-hmm. And so let's move to that.
Do you want to move to it, or do you want another day?
No, let's just touch on it briefly, and maybe we'll talk about it more in detail on a whole podcast devoted to shenanigans. Shenanigans in the real estate industry. We'll save that for next St. Patrick's Day. But basically, I can't prove this, okay? But it seems that if we have a client that is like, so if I do a showing, and the listing agent calls me and says, what did your buyer think? And I say, they're thinking about it. They love this and that and the other part about the house. It feels like 50% of the time, later that evening or the following day, I'll get a message saying, we're getting an offer in. I just wanted to give you a heads up. And I think, and then later, if we don't submit, nothing changes. That property never goes under contract.
We've had this before, quite a few times.
And then later, that property doesn't actually go under contract. Now, it's possible they did get an offer, and the offer wasn't good enough. It was a low ball, and it didn't go under contract. But it seems really suspicious.
Coincidental.
And so people know it's human nature that when there's something desirable, somebody else is interested, and that effectively increases your desire. Because people feel this sense of loss, they're going to lose the house, and suddenly they want it more. And so they're much more likely to submit an offer if they think there's another offer coming in. And it's just human nature. If I had to guess, I would guess when you get that phone call that there's another offer coming in, it might be around 30% of the time that it's fake. And I don't blame the listing agent for doing this. They are supposed to be experts in negotiation and, frankly, human nature. So suggesting that there's other offers coming in or might be coming in is one way to encourage the buyer to get off the fence. Which is why you never ask the question, are there other buyers interested? You never say, because the listing agent will tell you, right? I mean, I just got off the phone with an agent, and we're getting ready to submit. I didn't ask him if there's other, are you expecting any other offers? It's been on the market for 4 weeks.
This is the showing that I did last week.
Yes. Don't mention the address, okay? Because this is an active deal. I can read between the lines. There's no other buyers swirling. And if I say that, are there other buyers swirling? Yeah,
you bet there are. Yeah.
You bet there are. This agent has now shown it 4 times. They're going to lie because that's their job, is to drive interest in the home, psychologically or otherwise. So you don't ask questions you don't really want to hear the answer to. But in terms of whether the other offer is real or not, when you're in a bidding war scenario that's real, in most cases the other offer is actually real. But how you have to read between what they're saying, and if it's early stage, you haven't submitted, you're not getting ready to submit, and they're suggesting other offers might be coming in, like listen carefully. They might be coming in. Somebody scheduled a 3rd showing. Okay, that's not the same thing as an offer in hand, right? So just be careful. Agents, some of them are very good liars. Some of them are very, very bad liars. If you really needed to see proof of the higher offer, then that's competitive.
There's no reason you can't ask for it.
You can ask for it. Your agent should negotiate for it. And it doesn't mean you're going to get it. Some agents religiously will say, no, we're not giving it to you. Fine. That's their best. That's their practice. Then if they play it that way, then you can make a decision accordingly. You may not get the house, which is okay. But for some people, paying $30,000 more than they should have paid is so painful that they don't want the house anymore. And
and that puts a bad taste in their mouth, right? If they had to come up so much and now they've got it and the excitement's gone, do they still want it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on from this topic.
Awesome. And stay tuned for shenanigans. Perhaps in a later podcast.
Agent Shenanigans will be maybe the title of that podcast one day. Okay, we're on to shameless self-promotion. In this segment of the podcast, we talk a little bit about upcoming listings or what buyers may be searching for, and we have several upcoming listings in Boulder. We have a fantastic and generously sized, I would call it a condo, although really it's a townhome.
I'm thinking townhome.
It's really a townhome. It is an attached dwelling, but it is very generously sized. It's west of Broadway, and it is super rare, as we've already alluded to.
Can I give square footage just on how big it is?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I don't actually know no, I don't. But it's larger than my 2,000 square foot home, single family home. So it's huge. Yeah.
Well, Hamish, we can actually give it. We could pull up the old listing, and I'll give you the actual square footage. Hang on a sec.
But
make sure I have the right property. Oh, it's so sad to see what. I mean, it's so amazing to see how much homes have appreciated for. So, our clients acquired it in 2011, and at that time it was listed as 3,352 square feet
for a townhome. So stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, I mean it's an end unit townhome. It has arguably 5 bedrooms. One of those bedrooms is a little funky. 3 bathrooms, 2-car attached garage. Very reasonable HOA.
A loft.
And I mean it's a really great outdoor spaces. It's really a special property. I think it's going to attract a buyer pretty quickly. All right, Our second property is a 2-bedroom condo in Uptown Broadway. And I believe it has an office on the first floor. Those are the mixed-use units. And the interesting part about these units, our office is also in Uptown Broadway.
You'd get to be our neighbor.
Yes, you could hang out all the time. But also, the office can be leased separately from the residence. And you could even, I'd argue, lease the garage separately, although I don't think that's actually called out. But it doesn't say which side gets the garage. So you could keep the garage and the office and rent the apartment above it. There's all sorts of different flexibility, and the most important part that's hidden you have to be in the know, is that these properties don't pay commercial real estate taxes. They pay residential real estate taxes. And that is a very large savings for somebody that wants to operate a business on the main street level.
That makes sense, yeah.
There's a reason our office is there.
It was a good acquisition. I'm thinking anything else exciting. It's right next to the North Boulder Library. We were just reached out to by the Novo Arts District to become a partner with them. We will want to talk about that later, but they do like First Fridays and like art shows and everything up there. That area, I think, still feels a little bit new, but Boulder's putting so much effort into making it like a properly vibrant community up there. I'm stoked to see what, 5 years from now, how that area looks.
The new museum's going in up there, and the security at the library has absolved all of my concerns that it would become overrun by homeless people. Like the downtown library can feel unsafe at times. I've never felt anything close to that. They have active security as part of their staffing plan, and it's been great. It's a fantastic building. It's a really nice asset for the community in Uptown Broadway, and that new museum going in will be special too. I can't wait to see the design that's chosen. Hopefully it's something that reflects a modern art museum. And
one more detail.
Oh,
and this should have led with this. This unit is it will get fantastic southern light and eastern light, so great mornings and pretty much really good light throughout the day, even in the winter, because it's opened to the south, so it won't be boxed in like most other attached dwellings.
Excellent. I don't remember it being open to the
Gorgeous.
south, but I'll have to go look at this and again in person.
It's a corner, so it corners to it.
Let's talk about our amazing new ranch listing. It's out in the farm country. I won't give you the street address because I don't want to reveal it too soon. But it's a very generous ranch. It's surrounded by open space, and it has got views for miles. Yet you could probably be in town in 15 minutes on a bicycle. It's that close. So if you are looking for almost turnkey, like I would say it's 95% of the way to turnkey.
The work they're doing, it
should be move-in ready. We have not seen it yet. We've seen it, but we haven't seen it after the work they're doing to prepare it for sale. This client is a 3-time past client and trusts our advice, and we gave them a detailed staging consultation. They're doing all that work to prep it for sale, and we can't wait to get it videoed and photographed.
It's going to show really well.
If you're looking for those jaw-dropping views at a reasonable price point for Boulder, you should call us. Or if you're represented, have your agent call us so we can give you the inside scoop. Likely we will still put it on the market unless you're writing an offer that's just blows away our expectations. So this is another topic for a future podcast. In fact, it's another subreddit topic where they're talking about Compass's exclusive little marketplace they're trying to create.
Pocket listings, yeah.
Pocket listings. But the bottom line on that is that pocket listings typically cost somebody some money. And it's either the buyer is overpaying or the seller is frankly taking less than they should have in the open market. Showing only 5% of real buyers the listing is not a recipe for maximizing sale price. Somebody's getting screwed. I don't know how else to put it. That's typically how that goes. And for companies like Compass, they're the ones that are profiting the most from that dual, capturing both sides of the deal.
The handshake.
Yeah. It really does not benefit the consumer. So, though that is our shameless self-promotion for this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm complete on that topic. I thought I had something else for the last one. I feel complete. That's Boulder terminology for those out of the nation or out of the state listeners.
What does feeling complete mean to you, Hamish?
Next pod.
Really? Okay. You want to think about that.
I've said all I've needed to say on that topic, Osman. I think
it's self-evident.
Sales. Yeah, okay. It's self-evident. I've never thought about what feeling complete means to me. My Carveout's now going to be the existential crisis.
I feel like I'm gonna riff on this a little bit before we go to sales as I'm pulling up sales of the week for this pod.
I just linked it too. I realized it wasn't in there.
And this is gonna sound a little bit philosophical, but I personally don't want to get to the end of my life and have things left unsaid. And so that means telling the people I love that I love them, even if it feels awkward. Even if it feels too early, like, are we really that close as friends? And I guess I'd rather err on the side of over expressing. This does not happen within the brokerage. This is like my personal life.
And we have HR for that too.
We do. If HR, that's right. We do have HR. Keeps us in line. HR. Anyway, that's what I think of when feeling complete. But sometimes it just means things left unsaid. Are you holding back anything that you should have said?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be I love yous. It can be, it can be the F you if that's what you needed to say to feel complete. It could be any of the above, but not saying what needed to be said is always unfortunate. All right, let's jump in. Enough on philosophy. Let's jump in on our sales of the week. Holy cow, what week is this? This is week
13.
14, Hamish. You're right. Week 13.
Okay, it's like, that means we have 2 shoots next week.
Yeah. This is the last full week in the month of March. After this, we're into the second quarter and off to the races, and boy, does it feel it. Okay. Our first sale of the week is 3182 5th Street. And this is a generously sized 2-story home in Newlands. 4,656 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, classic floor plan. Most of the bedrooms are on the upper level. There's one tucked in the basement. It has a rare 2-car garage. The home was completed in 2015, so it's basically 10 years old. And it flew off the market. It was available.
We have seen this one.
We saw it way back in 2022.
Yeah.
So it was on the market and sold in 2022. It was available. Let me see. Hold on. The interesting thing is that in 2022, so this is 3 years ago, it was listed in February and it was withdrawn 19 days, basically a little under 3 weeks. It was pulled off the market, and unclear why. And then during that summer, which was during that spring, so between February 22nd of 2022 and May, somebody went through withdrawn listings and said, that house might be the right one for me. And an offer was written, and it went from withdrawn status to sold in May of 2022.
Okay. Off market then.
So technically off market, although withdrawn status is not fully off market. You can still see it. There is an active listing agreement in place. And my recollection of seeing this home was that it showed really well.
It did.
The one thing I think that I didn't particularly like was the sunken living room. But there was a broker open. It was fun, engaging. I thought 4.75 was a little on the rich side for this asset, but for whatever reason, it was yanked off the market and then did sell, and it sold for 4.5. So the seller, the current seller or most recent seller, acquired the property for hang on, let me make sure I got this right. I'm looking at the tax records too. They acquired it at 4.5. And then, let's fast forward to what happened recently. It was listed on February 27th, so right before the end of last month, and available for 1 day before somebody snapped it up. And it was listed at 4.95 and sold for 4.75. And the reason this deal is so interesting, so it was a cash deal. There were no disclosed concessions. Interestingly, I'm pretty sure the buyer's agent on this deal was the listing agent last time around. So super interesting that she's involved in this deal twice. But it's turnkey, modernish looking farmhouse, and with an adequate bedroom bath count, and it was built this century. It's very juicy, very very tasty, very eye candy type property. And what's astonishing for those people that have been watching the market is that the market pretty much peaked in 2022. The dollar per squares have been coming down. March of 2022, I think, was Boulder's actual peak, and yet they managed to sell it for $250,000 more than they paid for it. $250,000 over 3 years is not an amazing appreciation rate, but it's also not bad for the fact that the market, they bought it at a peak period and they sold it this spring at a market conditions that are not even close to what it was like 3 years ago.
I'm thinking from we typically advise hold for 5 years or longer if you can. You and I are never let go, but pretty decent for 3 years, especially considering a sideways market.
Well, especially above 3. So above 3 million in Boulder, last we checked, it was less than 10%, I think, under contract. I have not looked. Oh, we should just do it right now. You wanted some market data. Let's see what
Newlands is doing specifically. Maybe Newlands. Well, I know a bunch of listings in Newlands. Yeah.
I'm just going to do Boulder proper as our. We're not going to do Gun Barrel. Just the core of Boulder, the city of Boulder, and we're looking at detached houses above 3 million. Okay. And above 3 million at this time, there are a total of 67 houses on the market. And of those 67, what percentage are under contract, Hamish? What do you guess?
Above 3 million?
Yeah.
5.
You're close. 6.
Oh.
So that is 8.95, or basically 9% of listings above 3 million are under contract.
Yeah.
And they managed to get this thing done day one. I bet you whoever wanted this house back in 2022. It's like the one that got
That's
away.
That's a pretty safe read.
They've been walking past it, drooling over it, regretting that they didn't put in an offer. It's just 1 day on market and boom, and sold is astonishing above 3. And this isn't just slightly above 3, it's 4.75 and gone. So you had to be available and on it to know that this listing was out there.
Truly. Yeah, I wonder if the buyer's agent for the fouled party was just refreshing this listing,
Maybe, or maybe
moment it
the
happened.
buyer's agent was had reached out to the sellers directly because she knew this house and she knew it would be perfect for her clients. And by the way, different brokerages. So the buy side and the sell side were not the same brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, very interesting deal. Proof that miracles do happen if you bought the right house to begin with and held it for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, quick note. This one has been scrubbed from Zillow and Realtor and all the other syndications. So I will be posting the link, the my site listing link in show notes.
Can you? It's off of.
Or this link that you've sent me.
So the My Site link only lasts for a short period of time.
Yeah, the IRAs, that's what I was going to say. Is like we don't have anything else, so we might as well just link this and then...
I think it's better that we just have... If people want to see this thing in person...
Take our word for it.
Well, take our word that it's gorgeous eye candy and go drive by the house, or just email me, call me, and I'll send you the historic listing from the MLS so you can see how gorgeous this house is.
It's a safer way of doing it, you're right. Yep. Okie dokie.
Okay. Let's move on to a stunning Charles Hartling mid-century modern home near Chautauqua, 550 College Ave. Built in 1968, and it suffered a fire. Hartling himself reacquired the home and rebuilt it and lived in it for a period of time. It was listed at 2.195. It sold for 2.15. 20 days on market, 50 days to sale. It was a cash deal because of course it was, with a concession of roughly $23,000 over something. Probably the roof. Almost certainly the roof. The roof looked like I saw this home with buyers, and the roof looked bad. It looked really bad, and it's such a unique and custom roof that it would not surprise me if it cost $24,000 to do the roof. But the house itself has so many interesting features and artistic detail, architecturally interesting detail, plus the Hartling nameplate. Not just having designed it, but owning it. It was something else, but also completely dysfunctional in terms of you're not buying a house, you're buying a museum piece. Like, you can live in it, but it's not like living in a normal home. Mm-hmm. It really was unique in its design, with a lot of compromises in terms of layout and storage and function.
Functional, yeah.
Needed lots of updates. We looked at it, and we basically penciled in about $150,000 to bring it to an appropriate living condition.
It's funny to see they've blocked it out on Street View. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, and that was the same with the other house, but just hoping to see it from Street View.
Well,
it's
I'm not
gorgeous.
sure why that is.
Own it, like just to be in a piece of history. You'd set your expectations from a functional standpoint, but
it's cool. It's not going to function like a normal house, but it is just so cool. One of the things we noted, and you can't quite see it, but in picture 18, when you're looking at the roof trusses, some of them were pulling apart. That's what really gave us fear. We're like, ooh, like that might need complete rebuild. In any event, 550 College Ave. So let's talk about the deal a little bit. These sellers acquired it in 2022, and word on the street is it was acquired for a student.
You're joking.
A CU. I'm not kidding. A CU student. And I guess the kid finished
hopefully he's
college.
An architecture, or they're in architecture.
Maybe, yeah. Although the timing doesn't really line up well with that. Like, it was acquired in November of 2022 and then sold in the spring of 2025. Maybe the kid was a junior. I don't know the backstory, but acquired for just under $2 million, and then sold for 2.15. Acquired again in 2022, but after the peak, so it was acquired in November of 2022, and then sold March 21st, 2025 for 2.15. Another deal where the sellers did not lose money on this house, and owned for a brief period of time a real piece of Boulder history.
What's the we had a listing 2022 4170 Pinion. Was that a Hartling understudy? What was the story on that one? Do you remember?
It was another mid-century designed home. It was not a Hartling, but had a lot of It was built for the
Like nod to him or something?
For one of the top scientists at NIST. And so the guy that brought NIST to Boulder, it was designed for them by a colleague at MIT. Like an amazing house, and architecturally the same time period, but no connection to Hartling.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they were mentioned in one article together as one of Boulder's
there's something.
They were one of Boulder's most prominent architects, but not close to Hartling's popularity. Yeah. Also more known for
that one.
Me too. Oh, for sure. Then this funky thing. Oh, 100%. Right. That property I'd rather have all day long. Okay, let's move on.
We're keeping a good pace, man. All right, bring it in.
That's because my legs are sore. I want to wrap up this podcast, I guess. All right, our last sale of the week is 805 38th Street. And this is in the Baseline neighborhood. The home was listed on February 14th, Valentine's Day, on the market for just under 2 weeks and sold at a really big discount. So listed at only $725, sold for $685, $750, which, I mean, roughly $34 grand below list. It's a basic ranch from the 60s, early 60s. Some point somebody added a bay window. It's painted a not very attractive color, and the interior needed to be completely gutted and remodeled. The Baseline neighborhood.
I'm just on the back of you saying needed a serious remodel. I'm like, what a deal, because you'll explain why in a second.
Well, no, say more. What do you mean?
I think it's for Martin Acres and what this home can sell for after a little bit of work.
Oh, well, it's not in Martin Acres. It's in Baseline.
Oh,
Baseline is the entry-level neighborhood in Boulder. And my guess is that, oh, man, you even see subfloor.
I know.
The flooring has been ripped out, showing subfloor in the kitchen.
Here I am scrolling deeper in the photos. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything in this house needed to be done. We're familiar with this location because of a rental we manage.
Yeah.
It likely was rental for a very long period of time, and then they tore out flooring and basically did some gut work to get it in sale condition, which it isn't really, right? Like, dirty carpet there's only, like, no carpet is better than dirty carpet. It is an emotional negative for buyers. You should never list a home with dirty carpet. And dirty walls are pretty close there too. Like, it looks like maybe even a mold issue going on. Unclear, right?
Oh, but you're thinking that's for mitigation.
It would not surprise me if this home is completely gutted, remodeled, and back on the market by the end of summer at a price point that is at least 100 higher than acquisition, if not 150 higher, because it may not need that much. You could throw in an IKEA kitchen. You could refinish the actual hardwood floors. Where the subfloor is visible, you can put in LVP. The laundry room in the kitchen is something a lot of people don't like, but you can get away with not moving it and pulling a permit if you don't touch electrical or plumbing. So, I don't know. If as long as there's nothing structurally wrong with the house, it's a great buy. I think it's gonna if you're willing to do the work.
That bay window, I think this was a garage converted to an extra room.
Oh,
and then
right.
You know these ranches a little bit better than I do. Is that siding, not the brick? Is that original or is that an updated? Because I like the look of that compared to most.
Yeah, that's one of the cheapest forms of siding, those little vertical striped wood. And you're absolutely right. That bay window is a former garage. It may or may not have been converted with a permit, by the way. So if you buy a house like this, you do want to pull the permit record, because if it's a unpermitted garage enclosure, you may be required to bring it up to modern code or deconstruct it if you still need that garage parking space. Luckily, the rules are about to be heavily relaxed for this seller. Lucky for the seller, because they may no longer need the parking requirement may go away. And it's sort of funny because it can't be tandem spots. Like, Boulder was really, when they designed the old parking rules, they screwed over a lot of owners, because depending on the space between the houses, you may or may not be able to put a driveway around the back And
Insane.
some houses have enough space, some houses don't. And the 2 parking space requirement for each house meant that unless you kept the garage, which counted as 1 space, and then the driveway counted as 2 spaces, like you were locked in amber because of that. But the rules are about to change, so this historic garage conversion, which may or may not be permitted, may be okay. But you should go in with eyes wide open, pull the permit record. Seller may not know, but the permit office knows. It's good due diligence. But this is a really cheap. I mean, it's a cheap house for Boulder. $685,750 is a steal. Assuming it doesn't need major structural work. It might be a big assumption.
Yeah. As it sits, as we see it, everything we can tell from these photos, I think this is quite the play for the buyer. Good on him.
You know what's funny is it has a virtual tour. Like, why would you throw down for a virtual tour for a home that's in this rough condition?
For those international flippers, Osman.
I mean, the virtual tour is just photos that are zooming in and out, so it's not really a virtual tour.
Are people popping the tops in Baseline neighborhood yet?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Not as many as Martin Acres, but it's definitely happening in Baseline, too. There's some really cool pops.
Yeah, these guys will get mountain views if they pop it.
They're also really close to CU, the serious side of CU. They're very close to US 36 if you need to head to the airport. They've got shopping just to the south and to the north of the neighborhood. The closer shopping's to the south. It's really close to CU. So one thing you could do, like if you're shopping for a CU Kitty condo, is buy one of these instead. 4 bedrooms on the main, remodel it for $50,000 if you can get that done, maybe $100,000, and you're in.
I'd say probably, yeah.
I mean, it's Boulder. It's probably... Look, I know I could get it done for a lot less because of connections and the work we do, and I've done work like this. Like, I would hire my own crew to demo it, right? Yeah. And then I would shop at Home Depot for the fixtures or IKEA.
IKEA kitchen, right?
Get that IKEA kitchen in there, make it look nice and modern, change all the light fixtures, and repaint, tear out the carpet.
Definitely repaint.
Carpet's not expensive. Refinish the floors, LVP where there's subfloor showing. It's not that complicated. But maybe $100,000 if you're,
crazy.
If you've never done it before, and maybe if you're going to GC it yourself, maybe half that cost.
Very cool home. Good find on the sale of the week. Yeah.
All right, that wraps up our sale of the week segment.
That's right, and I'm bringing in the news with the Rocky Mountain Greenway. So I'm bringing this up. We didn't think it was necessarily like breaking news by any means, but I reported on this like last year. The Rocky Mountain Greenway is this proposed trail that goes from, I think it's Rocky Mountain Arsenal, all the way west up through to Lyons into the mountains. So this really cool kind of like recreation trail. A really neat idea. Well, it passes through Rocky Mountain Flats Wildlife Refuge, National Wildlife Refuge, which wasn't always a wildlife refuge. It used to be a plutonium weapons manufacturing facility, and they, of course, being the 70s and the 60s, had a few plutonium fires and a few other issues. It became a super fund, and the federal government spent lots of money cleaning it up. However, controversy still exists today quite persistently that the site is not completely cleaned up and there is still contamination in the area. And considering that this is housing related and all that, I think that's as far as I'm going to jump into like the veracity of everything. However, last year Westminster dropped out of the plan to help construct the Rocky Mountain Greenway, and this article from the Daily Camera, Lyons has just joined Westminster to oppose the planned Rocky Mountain Greenway. So this really kind of neat idea of almost like a green belt from Arsenal all the way through up to Lyons, it's looking a little bit less likely than initially thought. I'll say there's still some construction going on Indiana Street, but that's about all I've seen and all I know on this front. Just fun little updates about
why should we care, Hamish?
it's a cool trail, man. Like, if you're listening and you're interested in Colorado or Boulder or, you know, any of the places along the Front Range, the Rocky Mountain Greenway stands to kind of connect the state to the mountains a little bit easier, from a recreation standpoint, and also like from this like nature standpoint. It's kind of neat to imagine that you could see migratory animals and whatnot going through this greenway. Yeah, I don't know. Don't care if you don't wanna, but it's neat.
No, I care.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm looking at the Boulder County's website about it.
Yeah,
And
it looks sweet, right?
It looks sweet. It would be really cool to connect all these different places. But
yeah,
it's getting less like it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Well, it also was designated by Barack Obama, and in the current political climate, that's
he's not very favorable.
Yeah. It was designated by former President Barack Obama as an official project of America's Great Outdoors. And then America's Great Outdoors Initiative was announced in 2010. Annual progress reports were delivered in 2011 and 2012, with no subsequent reports after that.
Classic.
Oh, man. Sadness ensues.
All right. Well, you've got the next article. Oh, I just thought of another one. Oh, I'm going to write it down for next week.
Okay. So I'm just going to read you a little excerpt from this next news story. It's from the Daily Camera, and it was published on March 24th, so 2 days ago. Announced on March 24th, and it says, after more than a half decade, dozens of government hearings and votes, a name change, an ownership change, and a special election, the sprawling Redtail Ridge mega development in Louisville is expected to break ground in April. The project has been delayed from our expectations, Rodney Richardson, managing principal from Redtail's master developer Sterling Bay, told BizWest last week, but we're really excited to officially move forward. This has been years in the making. And it's supposed to be a 2.6 million square foot biotech and healthcare centric business park on roughly 300 acres, formerly home to Storage Tech. All right, couple things. It has not been half a decade. If you were to go to houseeinstein.com and click on blog, there's a search window, and you can type in ConocoPhillips into that search window, and you will see blog articles written by yours truly dating to 2008, June 26th. Actually, no, there's an April 11th article that I think I mentioned it in, of 2008. So we're almost 20 years in the making. ConocoPhillips acquired this, and they were supposed to bring all these alternative energy jobs. I started calling it the ConocoPhillips effect, given the large number of very well-paying alternative energy jobs that were supposed to be in this campus. But then nothing happened, and ConocoPhillips eventually sold it. Why they chose to not invest in Boulder, it's unclear, although given how many years that the current developer was stuck in government meetings and special elections, maybe they were right to just sell it. But of course, if they had held it, they could have sold it for a lot more money. We'll provide a link in the article so that you can see what this site looks like. It's basically as you're heading along US 36. It's on the east side of the highway, or the right side of the highway, I should say.
Yeah, northeast.
That's northeast. As you're coming along into Superior, it's on the right side. And it's just before the exit to Louisville and Costco. Huge amount of land, and it will be a lot of hopefully well-paying jobs for the future in this location. It's nice to finally see something happening, and hopefully Those jobs will still be there in 10 years with AI and all the changes that AI is predicted to happen. But I mean, Centura Health is building a new hospital there. Certainly, people are still going to need hospitals, irrespective of AI. And there could be, all these well-paying biotech jobs going in. So, as a proponent of our region, I know our city council often talks about hoping for ways to make Boulder less attractive to employers. I'm always grateful for jobs. I feel like well-paying science jobs in particular and healthcare jobs in particular are really beneficial to the sustainability and resilience of our community. Mm-hmm. And this is a big one. I think we could finally call it the Redtail Ridge effect, maybe, since ConocoPhillips didn't do what they said they were going to do. It's probably going to take many years to complete the build-out, but ultimately I think it'll be a huge benefit to our region. And then with these well-paying jobs, these well-paying employed people would like to live somewhere. So where are they likely to live if they buy a house in this location, Hamish?
I'd say all over, but immediately Superior or Louisville, right?
Draw a 15-minute circle
Yep.
From the campus, and that's where they're going to want to live, because living 15 minutes away is a secret to happiness with your housing choice. So Louisville, Superior, parts of South Boulder, I think even down to your neighborhood, Hamish, is going to see a bit of a...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be beneficial.
Fingers crossed. I need it down here. No. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch that flock to Via Vara. They're renowned for being a really cool area.
Oh, Hamish, so sarcastic about poor Via Vara. Yeah.
They're directly across the street from the proposed spot, but it's an odd little development that Osman and I comment on occasionally. Is the Via Vara spot.
Mostly I just think about it when the bus to the airport stops there. And I'm like, who lives... Like, I've had one client in 20 years ask about looking at units there. Like, it's just not a very attractive location. Although it's a great place to... If you only want to be close to your work center and don't care about anything nearby, I guess it's okay. You sound so negative on it.
I mean, you are next... We can argue for it, but in the context of Front Range real estate, it's just an odd little spot. Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm a little sad to see the, kind of open space on US 36 start to dry up. Like, it's kind of it's not a pretty drive, but, as it gets more and more dense, it's going to just be a little bit less enjoyable from a commute standpoint to Boulder,
It's been drying up for 50 years. Ever since they built the highway, it started drying up.
Yeah, I hear you.
More than
it's already
years.
Dead. There is no pulse. Okay, I got it.
Well, it used to be really pretty that there was all this open space from between Denver and Boulder. I remember when the Omni Hotel felt like the only thing that you would see between, it was so empty. But now it's the world. The world has changed.
Yep. There's that maybe another pod too. There's this I forget what the name of the hotel is, but the word on the street is that it was built. It's in Westminster, down by the plaza, and the word on the street is they built specifically in the face of their height requirements, because they knew once they built it, it wasn't going to get knocked down, and so that's why you have this gigantic hotel in the middle of Westminster, sticking out in the Westin, I think it is. But either way, it's kind of an eyesore to the landscape.
A lot of regulation exists as a reaction to things they don't want more of.
Yeah, it's possible they ran that through before. Yeah.
That is the case in Boulder. The blue line is a reaction to people building housing developments further and further up into the mountains. The height limits are a reaction to the Monster and Horizons West. The Monster is that downtown building that's the tallest building downtown.
Oh, okay.
One day we'll cover the lore of Boulder Financial.
Cool.
Boulder Financial, not the little real estate company that existed or still exists. There was actually an entity called Boulder Financial with a fraudster of a character at its helm, and he built that building, and he had his office on the top floor, and he even, I think, had a helicopter pad on the top. And he was a fraudster. He stole a lot of money from Boulder investors and disappeared. I don't remember the person's name off the top of my head, but we can save that for a future podcast, Hamish.
Yeah, that's an excellent... I'm stoked for that pod. Okay, Carveouts?
Carveouts. I think you should go first.
All right. My Carveout is essentially just in response to a previous one that I had, is kind of adjusting automotive plans for this year. I have been working diligently to get. I have a 1995 Pathfinder SUV that I got for $300 in 2020, and I put roughly I'd say close to like $1,000 into it, including purchasing it to get it road legal, going great. But it failed emissions in 2023, and part of this year I've got a lot of work around the house that I want to do. I need to haul a few things to the junkyard, and so that the need for it is coming back. And I've been going down a rabbit hole to get it to pass emissions. I'll happily follow up with that next week, whether or not I succeeded or not. But the energy going into this is kind of taking away from the energy and time that I would have liked to be putting into the first car that I ever got, which is a 1995 7 Series BMW. And I think realistically, that car will not be replacing my daily this year. So everything else stays the same, but I think, oh no, I'm going to have to drive extremely fuel efficient Korean Hyundai. Oh no, right? Tough world. But yeah, that's just kind of top of mind for me. The Pathfinder. Should I go into the details on it, Oz?
Well, if you'd like to. I mean, I don't know how many car people are in our podcast listening audience, and I think it's cool to have a project car. And if it's interesting to you, then you should share it. Sure.
All right. Yeah. Nah, I think I'm gonna leave it. The biggest thing, and I'm just gonna gripe a bit, is Air Care Colorado, and the length of emissions testing lately has just been insane. I've gone 5 times in the last 2 weeks. The first 3 times that I went was just to see if the lines were getting any shorter, and I went various times throughout the day, various times throughout the week, and they were all out of the facility, across, like wrapped around the street. Many cars, like long wait times. The other 2 times I went right when they opened. They open at 8, and when I got there, the lines are already out to the street. And both times it took me about an hour and a half to an hour 40 just to get through to test my car. Something required by the state. You would think that there'd be a little bit more attention towards the efficiency for that if you're going to put all of the residents of your state through an hour and a half to hour and 40-minute long ordeal, on top of then having to go to the DMV and all the other stuff just to get your car road legal. So I'm upset at that, but I am working to hopefully find a resolution towards it. And again, also a resolution towards getting my car to pass emissions. So Colorado also recently passed something with the air quality where you can't just buy any universal catalytic converter. You have to buy a Colorado or California compliant catalytic converter now. So instead of roughly $200 for this converter, it's now $400 to $500, not including install. So the route that I'm looking at for this Pathfinder and where it's going to go and getting it to like the functional level that I want it to be, it's eclipsing the 7 Series. I still have plans in motion. I still have work to do on the 7 Series, and all that stuff's pretty cheap. But the big body work, the big panels, the kind of more overhaul nature of the work that I'll be doing on that car is, I'm just not going to push myself too hard this year to get it to go forward. Yeah.
Well, the only question I have is why you are not taking advantage of all the lease deals on EVs. I've seen lease deals on like a Nissan Leaf that effectively ends up at like $20 a month to own a brand new, very, very energy efficient, perfect vehicle for your work.
Yeah, no kidding. I was talking to Andy the other day. He got the Ioniq IQ5s or whatever, $1,500 down, and it's $130 a month. And I'm like, whoa, that's dang reasonable. But then insurance is like $400 a month, which is double what I'm paying for 4 cars right now. So yeah, the payment to have the car is so cheap, but then the payment to insure the car increases that much more and doesn't make sense for me.
But imagine how much free time you would have if you weren't maintaining a fleet of hoopties.
One, I enjoy the time that I spend on it, so it's not like a free time argument. But also, I'm not going to be running a shit ton of junk in my brand new Ioniq 5, to the junkyard, right? Like, I do need a hoopty to be running landscaping materials and all sorts of stuff to fix up the house. But yeah, as like a replacement to the Hyundai and maybe an alternative to the 7 Series, I've seriously looked at like the Ioniq 5s and things like that.
I mean, I would loan you a utility trailer to go haul junk back and forth and tow it with the Ioniq 5.
Let me have my hoopty, man.
But
also, it's still insurance cost, right? Like that immediately, my payments sitting around like $500 to $600 a month just to have a car. And right now, like, I got 4 of them, and my payments like $300 a month. Not even per car. It's like, so yeah, hoopties, but it makes sense for me at least.
How much would you save on gas if you had an electric vehicle?
The Hyundai is so efficient, dude.
Really?
Yeah, the Hyundai, I think it's around $100 a month for gas. So yeah, I'd save $100, but the Hyundai is crazy. When I got that, right, because we're still in Carveout, I financed the Hyundai through a personal loan, which I'm 50-50 on whether or not that was the right move, but I again did it so I could avoid full coverage insurance. What was I gonna say? Oh, it worked out that from just driving the 7 Series, because the 7 Series was so bad on gas, instead of the payment of the loan being whatever it was just $70 more expensive. It was like I'd be the cost of gas, the difference in efficiency just made the Hyundai $70 more expensive than the 7 Series. Like loan payment and all.
Okay.
I was like,
all right. I mean, it's a passion for you. So if you're passionate, you're passionate. You can't put dollar amounts on your hobbies if it's what you really care about. I mean, you could be collecting stamps or coins, but
yeah, I could. I'll say too. I'm working to get the Pathfinder emissions compliant because that matters. And since it's not a new car, I'm not creating a demand for new production on a global supply chain that already pollutes as it does. And I'm recycling something that's already been produced and made. So there is some benefit to it too.
That's true. There's an environmental benefit to keeping these. That's absolutely
chunkers.
True. Sure.
It's actively rusting on the road. Anyway.
All right. Are you complete, Hamish, with your Carveout?
And then some. Yep.
Okay. Said what needed to be said. I don't think I will be that verbose on mine, but I will share.
Yeah, I went off.
No, it's fine. I will share my Carveout, and that is last week I attended a motorcycle rally in Death Valley, California. The second year in a row I've gone to this rally, and it is a gathering of, I think it's like 150 people. I don't know the full head count. I guess I should look more closely. And it's people riding dual sport motorcycles. So off-road motorcycle riding in Death Valley. This particular rally is aimed at new riders. And to help new riders learn new skills, there's workshops, there's trail rides intended for novices. And I've been riding for a long time. I don't really need the novice aspect of it, but I love the community that comes together to be supportive of new riders. It's a camp out at Panamint Springs Resort, which is, it's not really resort, like, I don't know how, it's kind of crusty. You're out in the middle of the desert. It's stunningly beautiful. As I shared earlier today, the way the light changes throughout the day on the landscape is stunning. Last year there was a super bloom. This year, no super bloom, but a lot more donkeys.
Yeah, what is a super bloom? I didn't ask on the
It's like
team
the
meeting.
entire desert floor just suddenly blooms in flowers.
Oh, gorgeous.
It's really pretty. Yeah. And this year there was not that. There also wasn't. There was parts of Death Valley that were flooding last year with water, and so suddenly there was a lake where normally there isn't one, and so lots of people were walking out onto the lake to like knee-deep water, and just sort of startling to be standing in a lake in the desert. So This year that didn't happen, but the trip itself was fantastic. I really enjoyed connecting with one of my closest friends who joined me out there. The drive back and forth, I mean, it's not the first time I was negotiating a deal from the side of the highway. I travel with Starlink so I can stay on top of deals and our contracts and negotiations, and of course have coverage with the team. But that allows me to go to stuff like this occasionally, and this is a fun event with a lot of friends. I enjoyed the warm weather, and the riding was interesting, and no, as our friend Ryan would say, no whammies or flatties occurred. So I'm very grateful for that. And now we're back. Oh, so that's also why there wasn't a podcast last week, because I was out in the desert, and recording a podcast from a van down by the river was not my idea of a good time, so didn't do it.
You could say we strategically delayed the release of the last podcast so that way it covered for both the weeks.
You could say that. All right, I think that's the end of this podcast. And if you like what you heard, please visit houseeinstein.com. Sign up for our newsletter, which I swear will get done shortly. And be sure to check out our social media. You will find House Einstein on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X, and Blue Sky. We are recently started in on Blue Sky. So thank you. Anything else, Hamish?
I think that's it. Blue Sky is slow to get some traction, so if you're privy to it, head on over and give us a thumbs up or something. Give us a blue sky. Is that a...
I don't know how it works, but I don't think social media should be politicized, but too late. It is.
We are everywhere. Yeah.
We are everywhere. We are also not political as an organization. We serve all political, what do we say? All sides of the aisle, all genders, all gender orientations.
We serve people, not politics.
We serve people, not politics. And our goal is to help you make a smarter decision. Thank you so much for joining us today. We value your time and we value your feedback. So we will catch you next time.